Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sharks and Things. I'm your host, Cody.
Matt, who's not rich.
I'm Mitch, and I'm also poor.
You had something there. You could have gone for I'm also not rich, and it would have rhymed. And
I didn't want to rhyme.
Mitch, rich, bitch.
Disappoint me. I'm Zach, by the way.
The disappointed one in the corner is Zach.
I'm Zach, the disappointed one.
So it's January. We did our Game of the Year stuff last week.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember.
I feel like that discussion could probably go on for much longer too.
Yeah, it probably could.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
that was also like the giant. We're not going to do the giant bomb, the multi-day cast.
No, we don't have the time for that. Their Game of the Year podcast deliberations are almost 20 hours of podcast.
That is a lot of podcasting.
Their top 10 list took 4 hours to get through. It's really interesting hearing that part.
The deliberation process.
Like seeing how a top 10 list is actually generated by them. It's real strange. While listening to it and kind of after listening to it, I had that's when we had the conversation in our private chat that we have about we should maybe talk about how.
Yes, we do talk privately without the rest of you.
I know, it's crazy.
All the time.
That maybe at some point in time we should have a conversation about that process and why Game of the Year lists are kind of a bit jank and weird. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized that's just the same conversation I always have about why scoring video games is weird too.
Game of the Year is Call of Duty.
Black
Ops 3 wins best game of the world.
Actually, Black Ops 3 was on very few Game of the Year awards this year. Like I don't think I saw
Game of the Year.
I don't think I saw any lists this year.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I doubt it, but I could be wrong. Yeah, Game of the Year lists this year were strange.
There was a lot of them. There was still a whole lot of Witcher 3 though.
A lot of The Witcher 3, and then you go
yes.
to Giant Bomb, and The Witcher 3 barely squeaked its way onto the list. It almost got beat up by Life is Strange.
See, I would actually maybe
did
contend that
anyone
because
here
Life is
beat
Strange.
Witcher 3 yet?
No.
Fuck no.
It's on my list
right.
of games. It's on my
All
list
right.
of games to finish this year.
I have it installed. I've played 30 minutes of it. It is a lot of fun, but god damn this backlog. Like I was mentioning previously, there was an earlier conversation of I need to stop playing Street Fighter so I can actually start playing real games. So thankfully Street Fighter 4 has hit this mediocre point, and Street Fighter 5 comes out in a few months. So I have this like block
Comes out in
of
like
4
a
or
month.
5 windows. Shut up. I played the beta. I was not impressed. I'm using this to my advantage. All right. I have about
So you can
4 to
push
5
out
months
further.
to actually play games.
You say that you realize you say that now, but
What?
February
It's only like
16th.
I have 3 arcade sticks sitting around my desk currently, ready and willing for every console that I want to play fighting games on. I'm ready.
Yeah, no, Witcher 3 is on my list of games to beat this year. I have the goal set. I'm going to beat at least one game a month this year, which doesn't sound like a lot of games. It's 12 games, but the 3 of you know that I don't finish games. Like Dragon Age Inquisition I'm almost done with that game, and I've almost been done with that game for almost a year now.
I still have the game on the back burner. Like I actually have a now respectable game stack between my Xbox One and my PS4. Like just game after game after game after game of just stuff that's like awesome fun, that's cool to play. And I have touched pretty much none of it. And it just sits there rotting. Like it's worse than the Steam library because it's physically sitting there staring at you. Like,
Taunting you.
There is tangible
Dad,
taunting.
play us.
Yeah, there's something you said about having a physical backlog. The unfortunate thing right now is that my actual backlog, I can't play any of it because I don't have a 360 anymore. So,
Well, you should maybe hop on that.
yeah, every time I'm at Best Buy, I see their used Xbox 360s and they're like $150, and I'm like,
Just Craigslist. Just Craigslist.
I don't want someone else's jank like Xbox One or Xbox 360.
But
I have more faith in Best Buy refurbishing an Xbox 360 than I do buying something from somebody on Craigslist.
well, apparently you've never even gone to their personal section.
Yeah. About with that, Matt.
I don't.
Happily married. Happily married.
I don't.
Sure.
It's a facade. You just like to go. You like girls who like to go after married men.
Dude, best thing. Dude, go to Craigslist and go to M for M. I guarantee you will not be disappointed.
So I have this 12-month backlog game pod thing that I want to try and get through.
So completely changing the subject.
Just gonna leave that one.
Speaking of manly logs.
Let it die and move on.
No.
That first game on my list I think I'm going to finish this month is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I will go into length after, what have you guys been doing this week?
Well, I've also been trying to get Assassin's Creed Syndicate to run, period, as I previously bitched about. It crashes every time on startup, and I have absolutely no idea what is causing it. I've looked through support, I've gone through the Google foos, nothing. I want to say it's something with Windows 10 and DirectX, but I don't know what.
So what do you use for a
You have
graphics card?
version of DirectX.
I have a 770 GTX, and I've tried 3 different driver versions with no dice.
So you also have a AMD processor, don't you?
He does.
Yeah, but it's
Oh,
not an
yes.
AMD processor conflict.
Yeah, it's an NVIDIA game, which is where people usually run into problems with those games. Is that
It probably uses
it's not.
physics.
But keep in mind, it's not a processor error. Like I've actually gone through the event logs of it, and it's all with just the application. I've tried launching in different parameters. It just fails. Like, so something is critically failing upon startup, and I think it is something with DirectX.
I would maybe update your
But
DirectX.
I don't know. I'm going to set up a virtual environment on my backup SSD and then see if I can run it off of that with running like Windows 7 or Windows 8.
Unless your processor supports VTD, you probably won't be able to get it to run properly on a VM.
It actually, it does have full virtualization support.
Yeah, full virtualization does not mean you have direct I/O, which is what you'd need to get your graphics card to work properly in a VM.
Eh,
Which is normally on Intel based.
whatever. Shut your whore mouth. I'll
Since
try and
it's
make
an
it work.
Intel technology, if I recall correctly.
Well, most virtualization tech is Intel, but that doesn't stop AMD from having it.
That's also not going to stop me from trying.
It's also the same thing why, like, if you look at 64-bit stuff, it's often referred to as AMD 64 because AMD was the first pioneer of that. But whatever.
Yeah. I don't know why your
Look how
problems.
the mighty has fallen.
Yeah. We had a conversation at work 2 days ago.
Okay, anyways, my crap won't run, so I haven't been able to play any of the Assassin's Creed. Did boot up Witcher 3, played about 30 minutes. It was actually pretty good. It's actually really good, but again, that whole Street Fighter addiction, crack scratch thing, kind of gets in the way of that. Let's see, what else? I'm trying to think of what else have I been... Oh, I've been playing my favorite thing, and you guys know what my favorite thing is.
Street
Sorry.
Fighter 4?
At this point, I really don't know, honestly,
Yeah, I really don't.
because of
Donkey
everything
Kong
you've
64.
been saying.
Oh.
Yeah, no,
I've
get
been
out of
playing.
here.
I've been
Go
playing
away.
a lot of Donkey Kong 64, and I forgot how much I love that game.
Can we boot
Mechanic,
him?
the platforming is
That's the
terrible,
thing.
but mother of
just-
God, it is so fun.
Can we just get him off of here, mute him, something?
Just boot me from the team.
Well, unfortunately, he's part of this group, and we have to love him the way he is.
That's fine. He doesn't mean he needs to be a part of it when he's talking about Donkey Kong 64. We can just temporarily.
You know what? Just out of spite, I'm going to find time this week, and I'm going to Twitch stream Donkey Kong 64, and it's going to be labeled Zach's Quest.
And I'm going to find time to not watch it.
Good luck, because do you have a Twitter feed? Yes.
I don't.
You know of.
Do you have a Facebook? Do you have a group
Look.
chat?
Look, hold on. So my Facebook, every time I look at it, it's like, you have 56 notifications. Blah, blah, blah messages.
And I just click on the messages. I click the little thing and it makes them all go away.
You know what I'm gonna do?
I'm gonna don't pay attention to it.
I'm gonna make a post. I'm gonna pay like $15 to Facebook for Facebook advertising, and you are going to be my only demographic. I'm
gonna pay $15 to make sure Zach watches me play Donkey Kong 64.
And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to contact your company and actually have them send you an internal voicemail and memo to please refer to this Twitch stream for this year's training.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
You will watch me play Donkey Kong 64 and you will love it. You will get your Donkey Kong on.
Nope.
That's what I've been playing this week. Mitch? Have you been playing Donkey Kong 64?
God, no. I stay away from that game. I didn't own a 64 growing up, so I didn't like get involved with any of the 64 games. Like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark were the only ones I played because that's what my friends had. But Donkey Kong 64, I watched people play that a couple times, and it was like, this is not Donkey Kong. This is not good.
So in the same vein of what we were talking about, Game Awards and stuff like that, with You just brought up a point and the thing that actually made me really hate GoldenEye.
The controller was garbage?
No. The fact that
better GoldenEye?
Yeah.
No, the fact that if you like for 2 years in a row, because if you remember, GoldenEye and Ocarina of Time came out like the same year. For 2 years in a row, GoldenEye beat Ocarina of Time in Game of the Year stuff for Nintendo. Like, in every category, and I just remember sitting here like, yeah, it's a fun game to sit and play with my 3 friends, but other than that, it's terrible.
Well, it was revolutionary because of the multiplayer, and terrible first-person shooter on console, but
like,
anyways.
I'm pretty sure it beat. I'm pretty sure it actually beat Zelda in music, and I'm like, what?
That wouldn't make sense.
Ding, 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 ding. No, sure.
Let's see here. This week, I started Pillars of Eternity finally. That is essentially the new version of Baldur's Gate.
Also on the backlog.
Freaking when you're like clicking around, you have like a cursor on the ground or something. It's the exact same freaking cursor as Baldur's Gate. Exact same one. It looks exactly the same. The controllers are pretty much the same damn thing. The interface just looks way better, and it plays better.
Well, that was the only problem with Baldur's Gate 2 was the interface was just fucking terrible. Like, if you fix the interface...
The original Baldur's Gate interface was terrible, too.
Okay, that one...
Time it released.
That one, it's especially bad on Android. Like...
I don't know why you'd play those games on Android.
Yeah, I don't...
What else am I going to do with my time, Cody? Like, I play Donkey Kong 64 for enjoyment. Remember this.
You should play KOTOR on your Android device. And even that's not a good experience.
I do play KOTOR on my own Android device.
I play Super Nintendo games on my Android device because I Bluetooth connect a PlayStation 3 controller to it.
Unfortunately, my phone and Geometry Wars 3 has been my current go-to.
My Android device.
You know what I use my Android device for? Making phone calls and surfing the internet.
Okay, occasionally I will load up Plague Inc. When I'm feeling saucy.
You know what? Okay, I'm not going to be afraid to admit this. I have been playing the Pokemon Match 3 game this past week.
Oh, it's a Match 3 game.
It's Pokemon Shuffle.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Match 3 games, you can't judge like a person for playing Match 3 games.
Because they're mindless. And
everyone and their mother has either played them at one point or currently plays them now.
So here's my like the weird thing about this Match 3 game is that it has French music. Like, while you're actually playing the Match 3 game, I feel like I'm in downtown Paris, getting ready to have like a baguette, maybe some bruschetta. Like,
why did you say bruschetta in like a weird German Dutch accent?
The fuck was that?
Bruschetta.
You're trying to insult all of our international friends. That's what
it's like when Giada comes on and she's like tagliatelle, and you're like, what? You are speaking with perfect English, and then all of a sudden you drop into Italian. What happened? Apparently, that's the same. Bruschetta. How do you want to?
Bruschetta. Done.
Bruschetta.
I just had this realization.
Cody, you lost.
This is fine.
Sorry. Yeah.
I have this realization that Matt and I are still in a separate phone call that is open in Skype.
Oh shit.
That is on.
You talking behind Mitch and I's back?
Oh,
No, we started before we started playing games this morning.
Bullshit.
And then Matt or Mitch called.
Yeah, can't even get our names straight now. What the hell?
Whatever, Zach.
Whatever. Zach hates me anyways. I don't need to know your contact information.
Yeah.
Free
French music.
On 64 loving.
But anyways, yeah, I know. Like Pillars of Eternity.
I'll Donkey Kong.
It's been. I just started. I put like maybe 2 hours into the game so far. In fact, let me check. Just short of 2 hours actually, according to Steam. But so far, I'm enjoying the RPG aspect, like throwing me back into Baldur's Gate. I used to play Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate a lot, so this is probably going to be a deep dive and down the rabbit hole for me.
So did you pick up Divinity?
Yeah, I played it for like 30 plus hours, and it got boring like really quickly. I haven't played the enhanced edition. I heard they made the beginning better or something, because apparently a lot of the fun happens later on or something.
Yeah, it's essentially the first like 5 to 6 hours of the game is just there's a murder mystery, wander aimlessly.
So
yeah,
I liked that game when it came out, but like it had some real janky stuff going on.
Like Pillars of Eternity or Divinity?
Divinity. I would be interested in trying it again.
Yeah, like I said, I want to purchase the enhanced edition probably after I finish Pillars of Eternity. So I only have one massive RPG on me, my plate at a time. But I mean, other than that, the girlfriend really likes 7 Days to Die, so we've been playing.
Oh, and
that.
actually, and because of you two, I ended up buying the 2-pack for me and my wife. So
you should definitely join the server. It's an always up thing.
We will try, but I found out that you can die very easily in that game.
Yes,
like
it's in the title.
Well, there was like I was expecting within
days,
like the first 10 minutes of
murdered.
Okay, I guess. Okay, so this is how I make a wood block. Oh my god, bear! Like within. Like
yes, bears are bad.
I had like 3 or 4 separate instances where I'm like, okay, a little salty. I gathered all this stuff, and let's do it again. Bear, and then zombie infested crack house is the best way I can describe it. Mm-hmm. Like it's just a brick building with 12 zombies. I have no weapons in the game. In the words of the game, I was also wet and dying.
If you'd like, I can, show you the ropes, Matt. I can show you the world.
I won't even live enough for you to show me what a rope is.
Shining, shimmering, splendid. I almost said
don't punch trees. This is not Minecraft. Don't go punch a tree because you hurt yourself when you punch like things like that.
That explains it. I've been punching trees because I don't know how else to get wood.
There are bushes on the ground.
There are many ways. You know what? I'm just going to leave that alone.
Yep.
I was going to leave that alone.
Tree. I only punch the hottest trees, Zach. Like that. You're just like, man, that's a nice fern.
Well, the problem is you play Donkey Kong 64, so
Mitch, this is not a discussion about books.
We're not getting into politics here. Get your politics out of here.
Yeah.
All right. 7 Days to Die. I still want to play it. Mitch, teach me.
Yeah, I got a server up. You can join anytime. We can play.
We should maybe think about doing like a community thing.
We could do that.
Yeah.
I finally
how about a 7 Days to Die
how to regenerate just certain parts of the map as well, which is nice.
Speaking of things, Mitch, you and I should duo queue sometime.
Oh yeah, League. That has been a game that I've been playing a little bit lately. I think I've played like maybe half a dozen matches this week so far. Things have changed a lot. Like I don't remember how to play. I jumped on Aurelia just because that champion hasn't changed at all since season 5. So that was the only way I could play and not get immediately raffle stomped because they changed a bunch of champions since I last played, and they changed all the freaking items. Like item builds are completely different now. And it scares me because I don't know anything about it yet. And I'm at too high of a ranking, so I play on a Smurf so I could figure shit out.
Nobody invites me to play League anymore.
Well, there's reasons.
I'm down to play League with anybody. There's one person in the world that I do not play a league with. I will not name that person, but they know who they are.
You should ping us in chat because I kind of want to know who you're talking about. Do I know this person?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably me.
No, it's not you. I just told you I will play with you, Matt. I will play games with you. Nope. Another survival sim that I just started playing a little bit of too is Life is Feudal, Your Own. I don't know if you guys have seen that one at all. It's supposed to be more realistic. It's got chivalry style combat, apparently. But for right now, it's mostly just, okay, build a base. Cool, you built a base.
So yeah, I know that they're talking about there's going to be like 2 versions of that game at some point in time.
Well, they're doing it like Torchlight originally started out. So the Torchlight originally started out as a way to raise capital to build an MMO based on the Torchlight universe. So that's what this is essentially. It is, it's doing the same thing where they're trying to build a game that is playable, that it works in this universe, and they're raising capital to actually build the MMO itself. However, they're going a step further by explaining like, okay, this is how this translates into the MMO. Like, for instance, if I'm setting up a server and I'm tweaking like how fast you gain skills, they're like, well, if you're playing the MMO version, this here is how fast you gain skills, essentially. But what I can tell is they're essentially it's going to take Life is Feudal, like Your Own, the version right now that you have, make the engine more stable, make the net code better, and then just open up giant servers for like 300 people at a time, and then tell people, okay, you spawn over here, and then people can make their own factions, make their own economies, make their own whatever they want to do, and then, you know, kill whoever the hell they want to kill. So, I mean, sounds interesting to me, but I've never been a fan of like the games like Rust and Nether and a few of those others, like survival games where you jump on a server and the first thing you do is get murdered about half a dozen times until someone decides that they want to take you into their group, their tribe or whatever. And then finally you're not murdered at first sight, just second sight. But those games don't really appeal to me because of the fact that, like, in order to get somewhere, you have to essentially start with the server, or you have to be very, very lucky right away.
That's one reason why, like, I don't ever get into games like Rust or DayZ. Like, it's interesting. Rust and DayZ and all those games are very interesting in the aspect that it's a interesting way to view how society reacts to anonymity and in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
I also think it's just a shitty concept that there's no spawn protection for someone who paid for a game. That's just me.
Well, I mean, it's fun for a lot of people. I know people who sink hundreds of hours into those games because as soon as you can establish a foothold, you can finally see what the rest of the game is like. And
yeah, but establishing that foothold is like the biggest barrier. But that shouldn't be like a $30 barrier.
So that's one of those things of like, that's where people start the private server thing. And like, if we were going to play those games, I would play with you 4, and then we would let people from like the community come in and join us, and that would be it. It's one of those things, like I said, those games are interesting social commentaries to me, and that's why I tune into people who play them.
Yeah, I would like to run like a private server of that where you get like 12 people, you do 2 tribes of 6 or something like that, and for the most part, it's PvE, and there could be a couple of skirmishes here and there, and then you'd have like all-out warfare or whatever. There's a survival
Could we
game
give them
based
really stupid
on
names like Survivor.
there's a game based on
no
castles.
Give them names like from Legend of the Hidden Temple, Silver Snakes, the Blue Barracuda.
But
I'm down.
You build a castle and someone is like the king and whatnot, and you have to. The whole point is you build this castle, you build siege weapons, and you siege other castles. So something like that, where it's essentially PvE for a while, and then suddenly, you know, you unleash the floodgates, and it's just all out PvP. It's like you get to experience everything. Then at that point, you get to experience all the building and stuff that you want, because you don't have to worry about someone just coming up and like ganking you and taking all your stuff and destroying all your progress. You just get to build what you want, and then suddenly it's an open warfare where you get to murder everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Murder.
So I've been playing Assassin's Creed. And that game is really good. I really like that new Assassin's Creed.
It's okay, Cody. This is your safe place.
I know.
You can tell us all the problems you have, all your fears.
I get a lot of
judge
hate.
you here.
I get a lot of hate for liking Assassin's Creed, but
I won't judge you, but we will.
Games.
I really like Assassin's Creed.
I do too. I really want to get Syndicate, but it's kind of one of those things where I don't feel like spending the money on it.
So if I hadn't gotten it for free, I don't know if I would have bought it right now. That's kind of where I'm sitting on it. I got it when I bought my new graphics card. Bless you.
I got it for free as well with an SSD.
I really like the combat in that game is much faster. Since it's not swordplay anymore.
Because we're tight.
As the game just said, it would be like Industrial Revolution London. No one's walking around with swords. Like that's just not how that works anymore. And because of that, the combat's really fast and brutal. Like so there you played I really like the two main characters. I like Jacob and Evie. I think Evie is a really like cool character. I like the fact that they make you go back and forth between the two. Like you can play whoever you want while you're doing like most things. So like it allows you to kind of build two different characters. So Jacob for me is a brawler and Evie's the stealth lady. I dig that. And then they force you into certain characters for certain missions. But yeah, combat's real fast. It's real brutal. It doesn't feel like the parry fest it usually is.
Yeah, that's always annoying in Assassin's Creed games.
I'm not.
No dog. Heard you like the parry.
I'm not.
I'm trying to remember when that became like the thing to do because I don't remember. I don't think
Assassin's Creed 2. Like that was
was
like,
it
that was
2
the
or
introduction.
was it like Brotherhood?
Well, 1 you could parry, but 2 it's like where it became crucial to parry, and then everything from that point on was like parry.
Well, yeah, essentially because like if you attack somebody, they'd block constantly. So the only way to do damage to anybody was you had to do a counterattack.
Like
that was it.
You just had to up and Katy Perry
annoying.
everything.
No.
See, I would just run away and then run back and like do a freaking leaping assassination or something.
Yeah.
Can't dodge this. Or can't block this.
It's one of those things of like, since that's not a thing anymore, it's a lot less like I'm not standing around combat because that feels faster. Like I can be more of like on the offense. And since Evie uses a really dope sword cane. Yeah.
Dope sword cane.
Dope.
Bloodborne brought the cane back.
So this one has a like hook blade in the bottom of it. So like she will stab people with that, pull the sword out, and then throw it across the room to kill another person.
It's pretty legit.
It is one of my favorite things I've ever seen them do in Assassin's Creed. But it's also because of that it is very brutal. Like watching this like since Jacob is more of a brawler, like a lot of his attacks are very much like his finishing moves are like breaking people's arms and turning them in directions that people's arms aren't supposed to go in.
So he pretty much just sounds like Batman at this point.
Yeah, he plays like Batman at that point, and it's like, oh. He also gets a pair of brass knuckles that are called the Old Ones because it is basically a brass knuckle that looks like an octopus tentacle that wraps around his hand with suckers on the outside. It's pretty dope. I get behind it 100%.
Does it go?
I wish.
Zach.
The octopuses come.
Every time.
Yeah, that's the only game. That's really the only game I've been trying to keep focused on as part of my. I'm trying to finish games this year. That is going to get it terribly derailed here this week when Dragon's Dogma comes out on PC. I really like Dragon's Dogma. That might be the best Dungeons and Dragons game I have ever played. It is
Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
Actually, same light. Completely forgot. I did finally boot Scholar of the First Sin back up again, so I have to start that journey.
I need to do that one as well. Dragon's Dogma.
I'll play multiplayer with people on Scholar of the First Sin.
I installed the game and I started it. I got to the third bonfire, so I can legitimately say I got it started.
Dragon's Dogma.
Go ahead. I got to the DLCs, or the deal. I finished the main game, got to the DLCs or whatever in Scholar, and then I don't know. Because I was trying to do a blind playthrough and stream it, and then stuff happened, and my stream archives got screwed up, so I just kind of like lost interest.
I'd be interested in that. Mitch gratefully got me that for my birthday, so I'd be interested in that. Another game you got me for my birthday was Darksiders 2, and I loaded that up. I don't know how I feel about that PC port. It's not
for
like
the definitive edition.
Yeah, it's not like it's bad, but there's no like graphics options. Like the only option I can go and set is like the anti-aliasing. Like that's a tick, and then like I don't know, VSync is a tick, and then anti-aliasing is like a slide bar, but there's no like high, medium, low.
Well, just treat it kind of like the original Dark Souls, where you get it and it's a literal port.
I also don't know if maybe it's because it doesn't like to work with the Xbox One controller, but the controls feel a little off. I don't know why. That is still, I still like the Darksiders series, and if I had one hope for this year, is that they're like, yeah, we're gonna make Darksiders 3. That's all I want them to say.
That would be amazing. I do have to finish Darksiders 2 in that case, though.
I really like those games a lot.
Have them. I don't know if I'll ever play them.
Darksiders 2
they're good.
Darksiders 2 has probably one of my favorite soundtracks of all time.
You have to remember the previous conversations that we've had, Mitch. Think the backlog.
Yeah,
I know.
The backlog is...
Hey, they should be part of your backlog, man.
But you like Legend of Zelda, right?
Yes.
You beginning to like Devil May Cry, right?
Mostly.
You should go play Darksiders.
But I have both of those games I need to beat.
It's Zelda. It's Zelda May Cry.
It is what I kind of want Zelda to be.
Puzzle May Cry.
Beyond that, that's all I've been playing. Some news we're in January, which means gaming news is really down, but something we did miss. Yeah, something we did miss last week was that the FIG for Psychonauts 2 finished. Which at like $3.3 million was they're asking. I don't know where it's at.
You should check that, Cody.
I'm Googling right now. It has 2 days left, and it is at $3.4 million.
Really?
I know a lot of people were like Psychonauts 1. I own it. I started playing it. I've never finished it. That's on like one of the games I want to beat this year.
Just gonna preface this, but I still just collectively don't give a shit. I've never thought like Psychonauts looked good, appealing, fun, or anything and or above.
I'm just interested in seeing it because a lot of people rant and rave about that game. So I'd like to. It's one of those things from like an outsider's perspective. I'd like to understand why. Like, I play a lot of games for that reason. Like, why do people like this game? I want to understand that thing. I bring this up primarily this week because we wanted to talk a little bit while we're probably a little shorter podcast this week. But I still feel like with FIG and Kickstarter and all of those types of crowdfunding sources, I feel like in the past 5 years, we've kind of lost track of like what the actual cost of game development. I still see a lot of talk on like Twitter and Facebook and social medias and Reddit and stuff that like, oh, how come they can get away with making Psychonauts 2 for $3.3 million and like another company can't do another game of smaller scale for that price? And I think a lot of people just don't quite understand how that works. Like, they crowdfunded $3.3 million, but they have other sources of income.
Yeah, so generally like crowdfunding for games, if it's not an indie title, it's just to show investors that this is how much interest we have. We have X number of people that are backing this game, that they want to see this made, and they're willing to put money forward to see it made. So like crowdfunding anything but like a really low budget indie title is just generally for investment purposes, like to show investors.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that like, I mean, the three of us who went for game design school know how much software costs. Like, I think a licensed copy of 3DS Max is like a 10 grand investment per seat.
Well, it's not just that. It's like even like labor costs for employees.
Yeah, like I'm not even talking like
and
labor,
benefits and you have to worry about, paid time off.
And you think about like San Francisco is like the most expensive place to live, and for some reason a lot of game companies start up there. I mean, so if you look at to kind of throw some numbers around here, so we can kind of get $3.3 million for Psychonauts 2 to kind of put that into perspective for you. Pokemon Red and Blue, which released in '96, cost $50+ million to make. That's like that's
that is
insane.
pixels. That is not even color. That is just pixels.
Black and white, grayscale.
Final Fantasy IX was $40 million to make.
Games cost a lot of money to be made, but then at the same time, people are sometimes misled with that too. Like, think of how much did it cost Notch to make Minecraft, for instance. It didn't cost him a whole ton to make that game because it was like, 3-4 people who worked on it over the course of a couple of years. Plus, they used, Java, which you can use open source development programs to do that. And they didn't really do much for graphic design. So let's see here. That probably cost, maybe $750,000 to make that game. And they became, Notch became a billionaire from that game.
It's one of those things that like they're the exception to the rule. I mean, there are free alternatives out there. Oh,
for sure.
There's, GIMP and Blender if you don't want to buy a 3D modeling program or Photoshop, but you are also getting trade-offs there. I mean, Blender, if you're trained in one thing, it's kind of hard to want to go. Like, I'm trained in 3ds Max. It's kind of hard for me to go to another 3D modeling program. Like, I could spend the time. It's like one reason why Adobe doesn't go after like college students who are pirating programs from them is they could, and they could probably get some money from them, or they could let them pirate the software, let them get trained on that software, and then understand that when they go into the workforce, they're going to be like, I know how to use Photoshop, which is worth way more money to them.
Because it builds you right into the ecosystem.
To buy the license.
Yeah. It's like Autodesk. If you're a college student, you can go to Autodesk's website with your college email and sign up, and you can download all of their applications for free.
Yeah, it's kind of like Microsoft's DreamSpark, where essentially if you go to college, you have full access to, just mid-level enterprise level stuff, like Data Center 2012, like that, like just for that, that's super handy. But once you start seeing like the capabilities of, kind of these exclusive products, you're sold on that ecosystem. You know it, you're aware of what it is, and they make tons of money from it.
What do you think I'm running on my cluster right now, Matt? DreamSpark software, server 2012 R2 data center into house, and then ESXi from also DreamSpark because they also do VMware.
I know,
it's awesome.
Ask me what I have on my virtual server right now.
Matt, what do you have on your virtual server right now?
DreamSpark 2012.
It's one of those crazy things though that like we look at the cost of game development. From a financial standpoint, I mean, just looking at San Francisco, I bring up San Francisco specifically because that's where Double Fine is. Rent for a furnished studio in a normal area, this is a 480 square foot furnished studio, is about $2,000 a month.
And then unfurnished, it's probably $1,800 still.
Yeah.
$200 for
premium.
$200 for mattress and Craigslist sofa.
For a 900 square foot apartment is $3,500 a month.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Like that
sounds very spacious.
Like that's one of those crazy things of like, hey,
where you reach your arms out and you can touch the walls.
Just think about that though for a second. That's like $2,000 a month is $24,000 a year spent on that. And I mean, financial analysts say that you should only be spending about a third of your income on your rent. That means you should be taking home 3 times that amount. So you should be taking home $72,000, which like that means you should be making 6 figures easily just to afford that.
It's crazy. It's one of those insane things that like San Francisco, but also like you look at other costs of development. You look at like licensing engines or the cost of on family. I mean, that's a big one. Games are hard to make, and
thankfully, like a lot of the big engines are becoming cheaper to use. They're doing profit sharing then. At that point, if you want to pay the ridiculously cheap price, you have to share a chunk of your profits with the engine makers. And if you want to pay the full price, it's millions of dollars. So,
yeah, I mean it's crazy. But also like you look at families in that thing as well. Like we talked about benefits, so time off, insurance. Insurance is not cheap. But the cost it takes on your family, like the reason why, $3.3 million isn't a lot of money is you have to pay for time off so people don't get burned out. You have to pay for a lot of things that no one thinks about when you do crowdfunding. Like you look at small games like, well, look how much money they made and they made that game. And you're like, well, I mean, yeah, but it also took them 6 years to make.
And you also have to take into some small considerations, such as this gentleman has a back problem. He needs a very comfortable chair. Yeah. How do you accommodate that in the world of game design? Because if you think about it, when you have that many people sitting at a desk for that long each and every day, you're going to have to pay some very comfortable chairs.
You can't buy a $200 chair. You have to buy like the $600 chairs for people. Not even lying. Like developers tend to have very expensive chairs because it's worth investing the extra like $300-400 instead of having to pay like employee compensation later when they have an injury due to sitting all day.
Well, and this is why I ended up buying a DX Racer chair. Like this is not even a plug. I actually wish it was a plug. But I bought the chair simply so I could remain functional. Like it sounds really stupid, but without this chair, I could not be sitting for more than an hour at a time. Like
it's one of those things that like the other thing you don't think about in the cost of development is like advertising.
Yeah, that's huge. That's like that's at least 20%.
So I Googled it. And the most expensive game on record that they have the actual numbers for in cost in 2016 inflation accounted for is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That game only cost $50 million to make.
Only
they spent $200 million in marketing.
Yes, marketing. What were the overall sales numbers for?
There's a game that easily beats that.
If you're about to say Destiny, it's probably Destiny.
It's not Destiny.
Well, so if it's the Old Republic, no one knows how much the Old Republic cost.
They had a $500 million marketing budget.
Do we actually know that? Because the thing with EA is EA doesn't talk about their numbers a lot, ever, actually. Like, that's one of those things.
They try not to say how much money they spend because they don't want to insult their investors.
Yeah.
Let's see
like
here.
The Old Republic, the game itself costs more, but
where the frick is this number? Like, just to put this in perspective, Warfare 2 has pushed 13.34 million units worldwide.
It costs $200 million to develop.
Yeah, I know it cost $200 million to develop the Old Republic,
and
that's the ballpark.
500 mil. No, that's from the investor report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the revenue is $550 million off of that investment, so more than double what they put into it.
Yeah, and the site I'm looking at doesn't have everybody's marketing costs. So that's it's Wikipedia. What do you expect from them?
To be better, damn it!
Yeah.
Everybody in the world can put information there, Cody.
Well, here, let me go edit the marketing budget on that game. No, it's one of those things you look at it and it's kind of crazy to look at those games. I mean, World of Warcraft costs $40 million to make. Like, that doesn't seem like a lot of money now, but that's... In fact, that was 2004, and the MMO space was a kind of unknown quantity at that point in time.
Well, wasn't it? It was only like, what, Neverwinter Because Neverwinter was still fairly relevant right around when WoW was released, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wait,
I mean,
Neverwinter Nights, the game.
no, never. No, he's thinking
Or,
EverQuest.
EverQuest, yeah.
I was gonna say the Neverwinter MMO. That
I mean,
was
that
definitely
seems
not
fairly
out back
recent.
EverQuest was the
Yeah,
big
EverQuest.
one
That's what I was thinking of.
then. Yeah,
at that time. It was EverQuest, and then Star Wars Galaxies,
Yep.
and Asheron's Call.
and National. Yeah,
Oh,
and
Wow,
I
Asheron's
forgot about
Call.
Yes,
Dark.
it was awesome.
What's the Camelot game?
Dark
Dark
Age
Age
of Camelot.
Camelot.
Yeah, like those. I would think it was Dark Age. That doesn't sound right. Like
And
those. were
those
the-
guys
and
went
RuneScape.
on.
And Ultima.
Those guys went on
Shout
to
out
make
to Ultima.
like probably one of the greatest. The Dark Age of Camelot guys, that is, went on to make probably one of the greatest
MMOs ever.
MMOs ever, which unfortunately got terribly mismanaged and
Yeah.
died.
That's a lesson for everybody. Managers make a difference.
Yeah. What?
Warhammer.
Oh, yeah.
Warhammer was absolutely phenomenal.
There's a.
Warhammer Age of Reckoning.
Yeah.
Well, there's this awesome thing that there's a new private server up for
I
Warhammer
know.
Age of Reckoning called.
There's also.
and it's called Return of Reckoning.
I know. It's just I have actually logged in and played on it. It's just not as good.
A lot of shit's broken. So
It's one of those things like game design is weird and stuff like that. Like you can put millions and millions of dollars into a game like Age of Reckoning. Like this is why Kickstarter and stuff exists now, is because you can put millions and millions of dollars into Age of Reckoning, which for all intents and purposes should have had kind of a lock on being a good game. Like Warhammer, a lot of MMOs are fantasy. They have a unique hitch in the fantasy genre with Warhammer, and it came out and failed. Not miserably, but
It was
miserably.
It was pretty miserably.
yeah,
Like Hellgates of London miserably.
like which is a shame because Hellgates of London,
Was an awesome concept.
yeah, like that for like that's one of those games that like for all intents and purposes that game should have been fantastic. Like it was set up to do a lot of really cool stuff that no one else was doing at the time, and it came out and flopped. Like every now and then I look at my copy of Hellgates of London sitting on the shelf and I'm like, I could reinstall that
Yeah.
and play that.
Wait, can you? I thought you
Yeah.
had to go download a special client right now to play.
You
it.
might have to. I think some Korean company probably owns
Yeah.
it. at this point.
Because didn't it go through the old GameSpy client or something? I could have sworn it was like
It
one of the.
probably did.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a lot of old games that ran through the GameSpy.
I mean,
What
that's
was
what's-
the shit? What was the MMO that like they sold themselves as the WoW killer back in the day?
a lot
shit,
of games.
It was like 2000, 2006 or something, 2007-ish. Shit, I don't remember the name of the game. It was a huge game. It looked amazing and everything, and they probably spent a ton of money on marketing as well. But ultimately, I mean, they decided to release it 6 months early, and it bit them in the ass completely.
Sounds kind of like Warhammer.
And it wasn't Warhammer. Shit, I remember pre-ordering it and everything because it was like, oh, this game looks amazing, and
Rift.
I want something completely different. Rift was a decent game. Whatever.
I don't know.
What you
But
just
the reason
said
why-
basically describes WildStar, Tor.
Yeah, but these are newer games. This one was older, like right when World of Warcraft was starting to reach its peak of players, like right after Burning Crusade, I want to say.
It's one of those, but like exactly what we're talking about here is why Kickstarters now exist. Is it gives companies a way to judge interest in games. It gives people a way to be like, yeah, somebody actually still wants to play something like Ultima Online.
Well, it's a good space for larger titles as well, because they like AAA game developers, they don't want to take risks because they don't want to throw good money after bad, essentially. So they set up a Kickstarter because that costs them nothing to do, to throw up a little bit of marketing here and there. So they just go ahead and they do that to judge interest, like the Shenmue 3 thing. That's all that was. We want to see who wants to play Shenmue again. This is going to be a really fucking expensive game, but we're just going to ask for like a couple million here on this Kickstarter to see how many people want it.
Yeah. It's one of those crazy things that, maybe it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And I'll be interested to see if someone like, if we ever see EA or Activision ever use it. I think there'd probably be riots if they ever did, but.
See, I think it would actually be a kind of fun little experiment for us to do is find a Kickstarter project, and then see how it goes from funding to actually development to just kind of do like a weekly update or monthly update or something, and actually see what phase are they actually in development. And then,
so what you're telling me is we should start a development studio and then do a behind the scenes like documentary.
No, Mitch, we're not even documentary style. BuzzFeed.
Can I suggest? Can I make a suggestion? Can I suggest we back Yandere Simulator?
What?
What?
Yandere Simulator?
Yandere Simulator?
I don't know if I want that to sound like anything that anyone should back.
I say screw
ever.
this. Let's just
okay.
So make Bantha racing.
So to explain, do you know what the term tsundere is?
No. Do I want to know?
Okay. So Yandere is basically kind of the same thing, except it's people, typically girls who are willing to commit murder so that, quote, senpai will notice them. And Yandere Simulator is basically you're playing this like sociopathic high school girl who is basically who murders anyone that looks at the boy she has a crush on. But it's like you have to plan it out and not get caught by the police, and you can frame other people. Like I was watching one of the videos about it, and like it's like, yeah, so if you just, I forgot what it was. It was like you kill this one girl like in the kitchen or something like that, but then there's blood on your and you try to frame her and it doesn't work. So when you're in the kitchen, you actually have to like steal one of her, like you have to basically go commit murder with the knife that she's using in the kitchen and then sneak it into her backpack while she's not looking, so that when they investigate, they will find the knife in her backpack.
This sounds like a very interesting take on how we could do Professor Layton better.
I don't know.
That reminds me of a puzzle.
That's probably going to wrap us up for the week. This has
gone on to
know where to go from here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Things will probably start picking up after next week. There's some weirdly enough games are coming out earlier this year.
Good.
Like February is like filled.
Maybe we won't get like a crazy summer again.
I know we'll probably get a crazy summer again.
God damn it.
Freaking. So even January is crazy. I mean, that next part of the Assassin's Creed Chronicles game comes out Tuesday.
Cody, I forbid you from buying any more Assassin's Creed games.
I like Assassin's Creed a lot.
Then play them.
I am the only two games I have not finished in that series so far of like main. I haven't played any of the like Vita ones. I am almost done with Unity, and I haven't played Rogue because I don't have an Xbox 360 to play it on, and I'm playing Syndicate right now. Let's see here. Devil's Third, which ugh.
Again, I think there is a Kotaku article that says Nintendo released a title to die.
Yeah, like no marketing went behind that thing. XCOM 2 is the beginning of February.
Yeah.
The second
I still have not even booted out the original, and I haven't.
The third.
I bought it during the winter sale. Oh
XCOM is one of my favorite tactical games of all time. The next Assassin's Creed Chronicle comes out in February. Firewatch comes out in February. The Dying Light expansion comes out in February. Mighty Number 9 comes out in February.
Street Fighter 5 comes out in February.
Stellaris apparently comes out in February.
I thought Street Fighter came out in May.
No, it's February 16th.
Fuck.
That's why I said earlier, it's like a month away, man.
I swear to God, I thought it was April because they always do April releases.
No, Dark Souls 3 is in April.
Fuck.
Supposedly, Tom Clancy's The Division comes out in March.
Supposedly. We'll see. They're supposed to be doing a beta for that soon.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to go get
that. If you buy the new Humble bundle, it has the Division beta in it.
Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking about doing that for I think it's probably $10 at this point. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm thinking about buying the $75 point to pre-order the game and everything.
The problem I have with buying the Humble bundle is that I own Rainbow Six Vegas. I own Rainbow Six Vegas 2. I own all the Splinter Cell games. It's like
I do too, but I don't own all of them for PC.
See, I
do own them all for PC. That is the problem.
I definitely acquired them fully legally. And I have the full complete set of them because I've had them across multiple consoles. But for some reason, I have this knack of having the discs go just missing in action. And I don't know how. They just disappear. So I said, screw it, and I got the whole PC collection.
Which were you thinking Aeon?
Aeon?
For the MMO?
I don't think it was Aeon.
No, that was definitely not.
Yeah.
That was all right. You got to fly around and shit. That was cool.
Yeah, I don't know what game you were talking about.
That'll come to me eventually.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 11. No, that came out earlier than that. That was like 2004.
Yeah, that was a weird game. That was a hard MMO.
Which is not bad, because like EverQuest was a hard MMO as well.
Yeah, but like
my only problem with Final Fantasy 11 was that you could not solo.
Yeah.
That was it. That was literally my only problem with that game was that you couldn't solo.
I don't know.
Unless you played very specific classes. But to play those classes, you had to have already had like a high level class anyway. So
thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week. On Thursday this week. I think the plan is to have another Let's Write an RPG. So everyone who turns into that, we greatly appreciate that. I don't know what we're going to be talking about this week. We'll probably do a review and get that archived so that we can start archiving that entire process. And then, anything else going on this week?
I'm probably going to string some Donkey Kong 64 out of spite, as I promised.
And no one will watch you.
The next season of Diablo 3 starts Friday.
But you know what also comes out on Friday? That I care way more about? Dragon's Dogma.
Cody, where can they find us?
I want to watch that. What you played Dragon's Dogma. It's tough to say.
I will probably stream that next weekend. That'll probably be my Saturday stream game. That game is so good. Beyond that, I think that's where you can find us on the internet this week. You can hit all the links below. Try and if these guys remember to let me know, we'll get all the stuff tweeted and stuff out there. You can follow us on all the social medias at Sharks and Things, website sharksandthings.com. I will try and get our top 10 lists or our top games of the year list up there this week. That means, hey guys, I need you guys to write top games of the list or top games of the year lists for me.
I suppose we'd have to do actual work now.
Probably do some work. Beyond that, I think that's pretty much it for the week, unless you guys have anything else.
Nope. As always, check us out at facebook.com/sharksandthings. Email us questions at sharksandthings@gmail.com.
Contact
at sharksandthings.com.
It doesn't matter. Man. Email us directly.
That is directly.
Directly.
Yeah, let us know. Give us some questions, stuff you want to hear us talk about. That was great last week with people in the chat asking us questions, things you want us to go in about. We have a lot of really weird thoughts on stuff that is not necessarily popular, but we have backing for it. So that's gonna wrap us up. Have a good week, everybody. I'm gonna go play some more Assassin's Creed now.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.